bit about me. I started in real estate. I'm going to be celebrating my 8-year anniversary November 1st. And I started because I come from an educational background. So I've worked in recruitment, I've worked in operations for a number of years. And a lot of what I do is empowering people, educating people. I'm a people person. This brokerage was founded on just simple service. All of the agents that are here are from service background, whether it's probation, nursing, military, because what we found and what I found when I transitioned into real estate, because it's a people's business. So I come from people. What I found is that we were trying to do a lot of sell. Sell. A lot of the larger corporations taught you how to sell, taught you how to close the deal, and that's great. We are a sales company. We understand that. But we're not here to sell our clients. We're here to educate our clients, to educate the community, to let them know what the market is looking like. Maybe it's not a great time to sell. Maybe it's not a great time to buy. Let's leverage that and have you understand what you can do with those dollars if you waited, or what you need to have you be prepared for if you are going to buy next year.
I want to know a little bit more about your experience with SMB lending. Let's focus on that beginning when you were, fresh-eyed going into the world, your experiences with traditional financial institutions when you, let's say, walked into that first bank, and shine more light into that aspect of what your experience was, where you said everything was on your back and you had to figure it out on your own. Which I feel like that's a lot of everybody in the case, and it speaks to even me. I would think Edward as well, that we feel alone sometimes, right? But we're not, right? And I guess we can go into that experience of like how it was when you first got in there, right? And then that second portion is that good, bad, and ugly, right? Because we have to look at it as people from minority backgrounds, be it black and brown, be it minority, be even from the gay community, right? You got to understand that there's a lot of things stacked up against us. So that second question, when I talk about the good, bad, and the ugly, we have to talk about that. It can't just be about our triumphs, right? It's about like how we learned to overcome that first one, right? And then we can go into maybe that third portion of it, the impact of, what you wish you had out there that could help you scale, right? So that beginning, that middle of the bad and the ugly, and that the thing that's missing in the industry to help, individuals like ourselves thrive in the economy and actually be individuals that impact our economy, right? So I'll give it back to you because I think it's beautifully how you kind of caveat into that. So without further ado, go ahead.
So really, thank you for that. Really, when you're talking about how it started with just the funding, I had to have some cash. And fortunately and unfortunately, we opened during the pandemic. The reason why we had to open during the pandemic is because my business still had to thrive. People were still buying and selling homes. And the brokerage that I was at, they closed their doors. So I had no place to really meet people. And it was just unsafe to meet them in various homes. So we were just trying to think of what can we do. Now, as far as SBA, you had some PPP dollars at the time. I was able to kind of get the emergency loans. But what people didn't explain to me is some of those dollars were repayable dollars. Some of them were non-repayable. There was a lot of forms and papers that were due. So you were just signing things because you're just trying to get the dollars and get some help. So no one was really getting on the phone and explaining. So in the beginning, I feel like I lost a lot of money trying to just pay for things, pay for ideas. People think just because you say you're starting a business that you have money. Everything costs. There's a cost for information sometimes. And it was so disheartening. So we kind of got the PPP dollars, started that process. Come to find out some years later, SBA was a loan. So I'm trying to figure that out and still struggling with that because it's a write-off and that's not a good thing on your credit from a business standpoint. Just didn't know. No one called. No one sent anything to say, hey, this is a loan repayment for some of those dollars. So again, the education just isn't out there. If someone would have just picked up the phone and said, hey, you're applying for these dollars, here's what you need to expect. 1, 2, 3, just like we do with our clients. Here's what you can expect. I'm not asking anyone to teach me banking. Just like my clients aren't asking me to teach them real estate.
Mm.
They just want to know that what they're signing and what they're doing, they get a little bit of an understanding. So the how was a little bit of a struggle on getting some dollars. So we got some money. We started the brokerage. I still was in production majorly because the market was good. The market did well. 2021 hit. Homes were flying off the shelf. We made some dollars. I had to put money back. But again, people think you make money, so it's expensive. When you're talking about marketing, when you're talking about paying your CPA, when you're talking about paying your rent, no one tells you about the various insurances. It's not just one insurance that you have to pay. If you're real estate, you have to pay E&O, heirs and omission insurance. If you're brick and mortar like we are, you have to pay for your general liability insurances. All of the systems, the payroll. I have, people on payroll here. So you're not making, they always have this joke that real estate brokers are broke. I wouldn't say that. We're not starving if you're in production, but it is a big financial risk that's on you. So getting excited, have a personality, still moving forward, wearing a lot of hats. So it's nice, it would be nice when we're talking about going through for someone to take that burden off of you and say, hey, if we could help you understand where the funding is, if we can help you get some of these resources, and how can they get paid on the back end? No one wants to get paid on the back end. They don't want to guarantee that they're going to help you get solidify those dollars and get paid on the back end. No, they want money up front, which you don't have. It's a whole slippery slope. So with that being said, for me, I'm focusing right now on recruitment. That's a whole nother deal in real estate. Mm-hmm. Getting other agents excited, getting them into production. It usually takes them about, for Homes with Hall, we have a good time frame. We get people in production usually within the first 90 days or so. But normally it takes about 6 months to get into production. So if I have agents who are pulling on my time and they need coaching, they need development, I have my director of operations working on systems. If we're pulling in our agent direction, that takes me out of production. So now where do those fundings come from? Because you still need to maintain your overhead. So I've been doing things like taking out a line of credit with American Express, but I've already had a relationship with American Express. And believe me, they give you pennies on the dollar. The line of credit is so small and the interest rates are so high, but that's not going to cover much of anything. That may give you a month or two to kind of relax a little bit or try to continue to generate income. So for me, I would love, and especially as we are working towards our nonprofit, the Homes with Hall Foundation, where we're going to focus on seniors to help them understand their legacy and what they do have with probate and trust. But we're also working with teenagers so that we can start those conversations early and bridge the home ownership gap. So it's really going to be focused on financial literacy around real estate, both seniors and teenagers. But with that being said, that has to be funded. So we do a lot of the things, we're doing some free things, but where are those dollars for those communities? I'm in the process of trying to get, I want to call it the government contracts. Mm-hmm. That's a doozy, just getting through that process and all of the paperwork and having your ducks in a row. It's a lot of work. When you're trying to find funding, you're putting in hours of work, which then takes away from your ability to produce income. So that's why a lot of businesses they're not successful. I mean, that's a stat to say the first 3 years, most businesses fail because they're busy trying to get funded.
When you first got into it, do you really think the financial institutions that are current, do you think they're on our side? As far as like what they're trying to do currently, do you think that there's room for improvement there?
There's definitely room for improvement. They weren't set up to educate. Mm-hmm. It's not, they're set up to make money.
Yeah.
And so their focal point is to make money. Mm-hmm. And will they be able to make money right away off small businesses? And so to me, it seems like we're not a priority when it comes to that. Mm-hmm. When you talk about banking and institutions, and if you are a priority, they're going to give you a higher interest rate. So, because they want to make money. Mm-hmm. So I think that is where the disconnect is. Okay. There's no one speaking to you. There's no one picking up that phone for small businesses. I think my bank, I'm with a large banking institution. I think they picked up their phone one time because they saw me using the credit.
Mhm.
So I think they got worried, like, oh my God. The question was, is everything okay? How's it going? What do you mean, how's it going? I'm running my business,
That's a bad debt question. Are you going to go into bad debt?
Pretty much. And so that's where the concern was. So you really didn't have, you don't have that relationship. You don't have someone saying, okay, here's where I see you going. This is where I see you can cut some costs. This is where I see you can do some things differently. And if they do, you got to pay for it. Everything is a pay to play. And that's where the system is broken. So I can't say it any other way. Even you caught me on a time where we're going into our third year. This is a critical year for homes with Hall Realty. This is a critical year for anyone in real estate. We have 20,000 agents in real estate in Central Texas, 20,000. And a lot of those folks are out of business right now because the market with the interest rates, things slowed down. The money's wasn't there at the time. But if you didn't make good choices with your dollars, if you weren't educated, if you didn't have great relationships where people are referring you still, you may not be in business next year. So that's the important part. We're just at a state where we need people who really have a vested interest in small businesses, no matter who they are, minority, black and brown, gay, lesbian, whatever your background is. If you're a small business, where do you go to get proper funding that's not a high interest loan?
And responsible.
Yeah. So that's the biggest key right now. Like, where do people go when they're in their second, third year?